How's it going, everybody? Brother Kimo here from Reload Hawaii. Thank you for watching another video. If it's your first time checking out my channel, please consider subscribing by clicking that subscribe button down at the bottom. And don't forget to click that little bell on the side so you can get notifications to when I post a new video. Tonight I'm going to talk about my first job here in Las Vegas, and that was working for Sam's Club as the overnight lead. So if you ever wonder what those ferries do late at night restocking things, or if you're going to be working that overnight shift at Sam's Club, this video is for you. Oh, and be sure to stick around for the bonus footage where I show you how to decode the Sam's Club tag so you guys can get better deals. I really liked working the overnight shift at Sam's Club. It's the first time in my entire life where I had a set schedule from 9:30 to 6:30. Got out of there with enough light to shoot guns, go golfing or whatever. There was a Diet Coke machine. I've always had a really weird obsession with stocking things and very, very limited interaction with customers. I mean, this was a job that I just wish I could have stayed there for a really, really long time. And it's not that difficult when you have the right people in place, but the difficulty is the turnover ratio is so high that sometimes you have one person doing this entire grocery section, which is really hard, or maybe even one person doing this entire center person, and it can get really challenging and you kind of get burnt out, especially when you're a lead or a manager. You're not just in charge of one area, you have to kind of help out in all areas that need it. And I kind of got burnt out after just 4 months. So for anybody that's been doing it for years, hey, kudos to you guys. So what's the average workflow like? Well, it's not very difficult. Most of the time, everybody helps out with water. So the drivers that drive the stand-up forklifts and the stalkers will go and they'll fill up water, which is normally back in this area. And then some stores will have everybody help out with the paper, like the toilet paper and the Kleenex and all that stuff. If not, after people help out with water, everybody breaks out to their separate sections to do the drop list. And that's where things get kind of weird because the drop list is on this little handheld thing. And if you just go what's on the drop list, the store doesn't get stocked. You'd figure that it'd be super reliable, but one of the first things that I always told my guys to work for is, work on your pods, which are these things in the middle here, and the end caps, which are on both sides. And that's the most difficult thing, is getting things onto the drop list if you're not a driver, because it's a weird dance that they got to do. So the people that are not driving have to get everything on the drop list, so the people that are driving can drop the items for them. And if you don't get it on the drop list in time, then you're not going to get the items and the store doesn't get stocked. So it's a really weird balance between people that stock and then the drivers, because they still have their own things to do. So, it's a weird dance that goes on between the two, and it's very time consuming for somebody that has to drop an area for themselves. And at the ending of the night, not only boost things for themselves, but boost things for the people that aren't drivers as well. Probably the most satisfying job I had when I was working in the cooler, which normally is this guy. So normally you have maybe 2 freezers where all the frozen goods are, and that's another place, a great place to work at too. The only reason I didn't like doing the freezer is I had to do the 48, which is all like the bakery stuff that's frozen, like all of your Twinkies and stuff like that. So most people will start doing 48 and then they'll go into the freezer and stock the freezer. But the cooler, when you're in either the freezer or the cooler, you don't have to worry about making sure that the pods and end caps are a certain height or any of that garbage. You just stay in the cooler, and the cooler is not that cold. The freezer, of course, is cold because it's a freezer, and there's 2 of them. So I really like just working the cooler. You can actually stretch your time out and just kind of cruise along and do that. So out of all the places in Sam's Club or maybe even over at Costco, the cooler is a place that you want to be overnight because you just have your own little area and you can just drop pallets when you need it, and nobody really bothers you, and you're not responsible for really stocking pods and end caps. It can be just a pain in the butt. Now, as in heaven as I was when I was working that shift, there's some things that really kind of did me in. The biggest thing, the 2, was answering the doorbell because we had to let people in for the morning shift. And the second one was arming the alarm when people had to leave for break. And let me explain why. So when it's getting early in the morning, like maybe around 5:30, actually people start coming in at 3:30, they ring the doorbell. And let's say I'm back here and the entrance is way over here. So you got to stop what you're doing, get on your forklift and drive all the way to the front and let one person in. No, that's not going to happen. I learned after a while that you got to wait. I would at least wait so that I could get a grouping of people, maybe 10 or 15 of them, so that they could come in all at one time. And that used to piss people off and people used to complain all the time. But I can't just keep answering the doorbell for everybody that rings it. So the best strategy I had was just to kind of collect people in one area and let them all in at one time. Now the second thing about rearming and arming the building, you would think that's not a really big deal, but the problem is, way back in this area, there's a receiving area, and if those docks are open, the doors are open, I couldn't arm the alarm, so I had to call the person in the back to close all the doors. And if they were out stocking, putting things on the upper shelf, I'd have to wait till they get back there to close the door, and that would just take up more time. So if you added the total amount of time that it took me to answer the door for the morning shift coming in from 3:30 to 5:30 or 6 or whatever, and then arming and rearming the alarm, waiting for the person and receiving to open and close the doors, that took up a good 30 minutes of my time, which when you only realistically have 7 hours to get all of this done, that really eats into your time. So those are two of the things that really bother the hell out of me. Now, some of the most pain in the ass areas to stock would be kind of right in this area over here in grocery called pet food. And the reason I didn't like stocking pet food is sometimes for dog food especially, you got those big 40-pound bags or larger. When you would unwrap the shrink wrap, it would rip the dog food open, and that would happen on more than one occasion. Or sometimes there would be a hole poked through the bag so that by the time you opened it, it would be on the bottom, and then you have this nice flow of dog food that would just flow all over the place. Another thing about dog food is when you're trying to lift it onto the shelf with the pallet, or the, not the pallet jack, but the forklift, sometimes you would snag a corner, and it doesn't have to be a sharp corner because it's paper, it's very easy to rip, and you could rip open 2 or 3 bags of dog food, and that just takes more time to clean up. So I hated dog food. Another area I really hated was the soap and hard lines over here. So this is where like all the beer is another one I really hated. Not the cases, but the individual pieces of beer, because they're on the mixed pallets. Anything that you have to stock with mixed pallets suck because you don't know what's in it. It's not just one item. So like candies has mixed pallets, hard lines has mixed pallets, spices have mixed pallets. Those are a pain in the butt too. And then over on hard lines you had the soap, and those things are super heavy. If you have to hand stack 3 or 4 layers of detergent, that sucks. Which is the same thing over in grocery when you have to pick up those apple juice things. Those have 2 in 1, so when you have to stock 4 or 5 layers by hand, you can't just slide it in and just push it in. Because Sam's Club has that rule, right? It has to be stuck to the shelves, the top of the shelves. You have to lift 4 or 5 layers of that. That gets super heavy, and toward the ending of the night, it can get really irritating. So that's just some of the areas that I really hated stocking in Sam's Club. Outside of the cooler and the freezer, which I really like stocking, I didn't mind working in HBA. You got big boxes like diapers and the protein shakes and all that stuff. So that's actually really good down here in HBA. Didn't do really much in electronics. The other thing that was really challenging for me was the cart rail, that section when you walk in, it's got all like the sodas and stuff like that. When you have to break down this entire area, you have to break it down, put everything away, and then put out new stuff. That took me maybe about 6 hours to do because I wasn't a very fast forklift driver. But wasn't bad because it wasn't really small items. This can be a problem though when you have to hand stack something. I remember I had to do some cereal because they all have to be fronting, the product has to be facing to the front. And sometimes the cereal, when they come in a pallet sideways, and the pallets turn in the opposite directions, you have to turn the pallet and then hand stack it facing forward. I remember having to do that. That takes a long time. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have to do 2 or 3 pallets like that, sucks balls. But for the most part, I really enjoyed working at Sam's Club. Let's have a look at a Sam's Club tag so I can tell you exactly what to look for on those tags. Okay, this is how you decipher a Sam's Club sales tag. The arrow on the left is a SKU number or item number. Arrow on the bottom is the location. That's more for the people that work there, that shows them where to put the item in a given aisle. The important part is the status code, so that's a C there. If you see an A, it's active, C is canceled, D is deleted, O is one-time buy, S is seasonal. So if you see a C, D, O, or S, buy that item now because you may never see it again. On the bottom of the 91 cents, you see last one. So we have a section in Sam's Club that has all of the last ones of a certain product. Those are heavily discounted, as well as if you see a display that's a last one, most likely you can get 20% off of that. So that's how you decode a Sam's Club sales tag. And although I didn't work at Sam's Club for very long, I do miss working with that tight-knit group of people. And it's almost like you're in a fraternity of people that work the overnight shift. So I related very much to people that worked at the other Sam's Clubs in my area, or even at Costco. You just kind of know what kind of stress you're under trying to get the store ready for opening. But guys, if you know anybody that's working the overnight shift at Sam's Club or Costco or a similar situation, you kind of know what they're going through now. Or if you know somebody that would like to work it, show them this video. They're going to get a lot of great information out of it. So if you like the video, please share it a lot. Give me the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And as always, guys, I'll catch you later.